Welcome to my review for Evil Dead 2, again directed by Sam Raimi. This one picks up exactly where the first film left off, although there's a bit of a weird recap at the start of this film which shows events that just didn't happen the first time around. The first time there were Ash and 4 other people. This time it's just him and his girlfriends, and we're seeing all these events unfold during the first movie, and I'm thinking, where are the other characters? And even the finding of the tape recorder is different. In the first film, they had to go into this cellar and creepily walk through these shadows, and there's all this stuff at the back of the cellar, including the tape recorder. This time, the tape recorder's just in a room up top, and Ash sort of wanders through from one room to another and says, "Oh, what's this tape recorder?" It's like a bad bit of dialogue from an old Resident Evil game or something. So it's really annoying having to sit through this, because it goes on for like 10 minutes or so, and it's just not what we were watching the first time around. I think they had contractual issues or something. They weren't allowed to pretend or acknowledge that this was a sequel to the first film or something. I mean, it just makes my head spin understanding what was going on with this, because I've never seen this happen at the start of any other sequel, really. And the location is different as well. I noticed during the film, this definitely didn't feel like the same cabin and area as the first movie. I mean, they've got the cabin looking like it did the first time around, to be fair, but part of what made the original cabin great wasn't just the cabin itself, it was the surrounding area had this really unique look, and we just don't have that this time because we're in North Carolina instead of Tennessee. I mean, trees are just surrounding the cabin this time, where it was a bit more open, I think, the first time around. I mean, I guess you could say, well, the demon's making the trees enclosed around the cabin, and that's why it looks a little bit different. Fair enough if you want to explain it away that way, but also the bridge that leads up to the cabin, first time around it was this quite small little thing, and it looked like it went down about 50 feet maybe to some rocks or a string. This time around it's this massive thing that looks like it could be on the Grand Canyon or something. It's really odd, and when Ash goes up to it, he reacts like he's surprised it's out. But in the first film he's already seen that the bridge is broken. I'm sure he goes up to it with another character and sees this. So yeah, like I said, that the first part of this film is really messy and inconsistent with the first film. I get that some of it is not their fault, you know, can't go back to the original location, fine. You're not allowed to show this and that from the first movie, fine. But still, as the viewer, it still affects the final product, which is a shame. Now, once we get into the main action, though, it's a lot better. Most of the stuff is split into two parts. So first we get Ash continuing to fight the demon threat by himself in the cabin. Then the second part, some new characters turn along, and it's more of a group situation like the first film, although this new set of characters are not as likeable as the first set. There's even this annoying redneck guy who not only is he a complete coward once he's in the cabin, but earlier on he's like taking $100 just to show somebody where this trail is, you know, being a real arsehole. But I love how many different interesting setups and scenarios there are, especially in the first bit with Ash. I mean, his girlfriend's corpse comes back to life and starts rolling her head on her arm and doing a little dance, and that's when you know there's going to be a bit more comedy in this one, but it's still great, you know. And the scene where he's in the shed and he's looking for his chainsaw, and he suddenly turns around and the headless corpse with the chainsaw comes through the... I mean, who thinks of that? It's just crazy. The bit I always remember from watching this film years ago is with the hand. You know, Ash's hand suddenly starts trying to kill him because it's infected. And the amount of physical acting that must have gone into that, I mean, full credit to Bruce Campbell, because he makes it genuinely look like his own hand is trying to kill him. And it feels like it goes on for quite a while, that bit. It's really cool. I like the little mutterings he does under his breath when he's trying to shoot the hand. He's like, "Oh, now I'm going to get you." It's like, that's actually your own hand. There's also this great camera shot around about that point of the film where the demon entity thing is chasing Ash through the cabin, and he's having to sort of go at left and right angles as he turns through one door and then another, and finally he hides in the cellar, I think. But yeah, I mean, the review could literally just be me listing each really cool bit as we go through the main part of the film. It's really impressive the amount of stuff they came up with. Later on, when they're in a group again, we get a repeat of the tree root scene from the first movie, but thankfully it doesn't have the rape part. That was probably the only part of the first movie you could say was a little bit dodgy, but thankfully we don't go back there again. There's this old woman who's sort of buried under the fruit cellar or something, and she suddenly rises up. She didn't appear at any point during the first movie, but now she's sort of rising up and becoming this blobby, hideous thing that they have to take on. Ash gets his unique look in this one with the chainsaw on his arm, the shotgun. He just tools up at one point like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Commando. He got this really cool look, although he's not great at using this stuff actually for the rest of this film. There's a lot of times when you think, just use your weapons, you're all tooled up now, and he's sort of hesitating if there's a big creature in front of him. At the end, there's this amazing bit where this is the only part, actually, of the second film where you could genuinely say the stakes have really been raised and things have really improved over the original. It's when all the trees circle over the house, and it looks for 1 minute like the trees are literally going to just crush the house in or something. But this giant face thing just pushes its way through the door and grabs Ash, and he's there like, I'm thinking, just use your weapons. You've got 2 weapons in both arms. And I think eventually he does something, but it takes him a while. He sort of really hesitates with this stuff. But on the whole, though, once the movie gets past the 20 minutes, it's a real thrill ride after that, just going from set piece to set piece. And I have a good time with it, you know. And there's even got this secondary ending, which I'd completely forgotten about, where we actually see Ash go to the year 1300 or something like that and shoot this pterodactyl and get proclaimed the leader of these knights or something. If you think the journey that he's gone on in this 24-hour period, he starts off just a normal bloke going on like a mini holiday with his friends and girlfriend. Then 24 hours later, they're all dead. His girlfriend's dead. His hand's been cut off and he's got a chainsaw, and he's in the 13th century, and all that in just like 1 day. And it's no surprise he's going, no, trying to figure it out. You know, it's just absolutely crazy. Is this film as good as the first one? I don't think it is. I gave the first one 5 bloody axes and called it an absolute masterpiece, and I stand by that. I think the second one's got too many things that are just off in terms of the continuity and just little annoyances. It's still really entertaining. I mean, there's an hour's footage in this film that's brilliant, and just 20 minutes of guff, which I'd just like to take out. I always feel like, if I'm going to use a video game analogy, the first movie feels like your big £50 game, and this feels like an expansion pack that's sort of more of the same, if you like a really good quality DLC pack. Don't know if that's fair, but one thing I'd love to do is just take the best hour of Evil Dead 2, attach it onto the entirety of Evil Dead 1 and call it one big, long, complete cut. You know, I'd take out all the recaps and stuff, and I'd take out the scenes as well with the new characters from Evil Dead 2 where they're away from the cabin. Take out those and just have one big, long 2.5 hour cut. I think that'd be really good. In fact, I think the next time I watch these movies, which I definitely will do in the future, I'm going to clear enough time to watch both 1 and 2 back to back and see what that's like as an experience. It'll be a hell of a ride, I think, and I'll be skipping past that recap in the middle, definitely. So let's get out the bag of terror and find out what sort of score we have for Evil Dead 2. What have you got for us today, bag of terror? We've got 1, 2, 3, 3.5 bloody axes. A very good film. It can't quite compare to the first one, but certainly I really enjoy it. It is a classic and got pride of place in my collection. You should definitely watch it if you've watched the first one but not got around to the second one. So there we are. We've got no pin for the horror locations map today. I'm not going to put a pin in for North Carolina. The film is meant to be set in Tennessee, so I'm going to resist the temptation. I'll be back soon to do Armies of Darkness, or is it Army of Darkness? I can't actually remember, shame on me, but I will figure that out and do a review for that soon. So until next time, cheerio, bye-bye.